Hi class, we're going to talk about the illusion of space and ways that people convey depth in art. Have a little slideshow here for you to watch and talk over. At first I want to talk about how we're so used to images that convey depth in photography, um, on in the world around us, on our screens, in the drawings we look at, and all kinds of things that it's really, really ubiquitous to us. It's everywhere. But back in the day, this is a still image of from a movie, one of the first movies called The Arrival of the Train Station in French. When the film was shown, people actually rushed out of the theater because they were afraid a train was actually going to hit them. To us, it's like crazy to think that we would be afraid of something like that, but that's because they were so not used to this type of thing. And so we're kind of like thinking, like, to us, it's so obvious that this works this way that we just take it for granted. But I want to look at a few things and kind of unpack them so we kind of think a little more intentionally about how does this happen in art. First, I want to just remind you that there's an imaginary plane in front of you from your point of view when you're drawing, and whatever you're drawing out here, if you keep the proportion the same here, you can accurately show something. That's called the picture plane. So we don't want to forget about what we've been learning about this. And you've been doing it through sighting and using your pencil like to sight angles and to sight distances to put them on your paper. And through that you can create something that will be like a window into another world. And we kind of forget it's on the surface of something like a canvas. This is on canvas or paper. One clear way that's easy to see depth and the illusion of it, it's an illusion because it's not actual depth, it's a mark. This is flat surface, is size. We know in ourselves from life experience, things that look further away get smaller, even though they're the same. So these are all the same type of fish blowing in the wind. That this means these are much further away because they're a lot smaller than that. Another way we know that things are further behind is they're blocked out by something ahead of it. So even if this is like not a realistic piece, it still gives us depth because these carpenters are blocking out things behind them. Something that happens in our lived reality all the time. In color, warm colors seem to come forward and cooler, grayer colors fall further back. This slide is really pixelated. I'm sorry about that. It's because of something called atmospheric perspective. We can see the air over a longer period of time, and it makes things get cooler and lighter, which is what this is part of as well. When we do it in line work, we can make light lines push way back because we know we can't see as well further away, and the things that are close are a lot darker. So that's also a value, shows depth and shading, but also in line. This shows you another example of atmospheric or aerial. They're both, the words are used, atmospheric or aerial perspective. Happens on a small level and a larger level. This also is working because the darker comes forward in this picture. The man is darker. But over a long distance, we can see the atmosphere. So another name for it, aerial perspective. In some older styles, like this is an old quilt. Again, sorry for the image quality. I have to get a different image of this. Vertical location is a device that's used to mean further away. So something higher up on the page, going closer to the horizon. This isn't really as accurate of a way, but people use it over the years quite a lot. First, I want to explain this word called horizon line, and we could use the word eye level to be the same. They are the same. The eye level of the viewer is the same as the horizon line. It's an imaginary line because, of course, when you go to the horizon, it disappears and moves away from you. It's that line if you were standing on on a ship on a flat sea or the desert where it would look like a line that where the meeting of the sky and the land is. And it always stays with your eyes. If you go up and this is him up in a hot air balloon, it goes with you. So it's in relationship to the person who's viewing and the level of their eyes. If you're on your stomach on the ground, it would be the same thing. You can find it in a picture that you're trying to draw a scene by just paying attention to where your eyes are. So you could use your pencil and hold it in front of your eyes and then automatically create a line, and you know that's where the horizon is. Even if you can't see it, it's still there. Whether it's visible or concealed by mountains, trees, people, the city around us. In this piece, this is a photograph by Ansel Adams of Yosemite. It's where the camera lens was at, was the eye of the picture. And it's probably right about there. Because everything up is looking up and down from there. You're going to be doing something with what's called linear perspective. It's complex spatial system that they developed in the Renaissance, but it's not so complex, so we can break it down a bit at a time. But it comes from the idea that parallel lines recede to a point and things converge on the horizon line. Importantly, on the horizon line. You can see this if you look down a long flat distance or something like a railroad track, or eventually, or a long road where it goes to a single point back here on the horizon. That's the converging. That spot where it goes is called a vanishing point. So, if you are doing something in your picture where you're trying to create this, you actually need to mark the vanishing point in the place so that you can know where it is and keep referencing it. We're gonna put right here and say if I was doing this, I would need to put, mark it with a little X on the horizon line, but it's like right there. If I was drawing this picture, I would do this, draw the line horizon, and then mark it with an X right where I drew that line. This is also based on the ideas that things get smaller or diminish as they go further away. So you can see in these pillars, they're the same size, but as they're going away, they're getting smaller. They're converging and diminishing. Same with these windows. They're coming right here to there. They're getting smaller, and the lines are converging. Importantly enough on this, important to notice is that it's parallel planes, parallel lines. If this line was going off at a different angle over here, not these are parallel to each other, then it would have a different vanishing point and it wouldn't converge the same way. All of these things are parallel to each other. Again, just to show you that idea of converging, if you look down a train track at a train, you would see it, or a wall. It happens everywhere, inside, outside. This is a system used for interior, but exteriors, but it also, this is an example interior. By Dirk Boutz. It's a early Renaissance painting. And if you look at it, you can tell by the table where the lines converge, and it's directly above Christ's head in this piece. And there's actually a cross up here. And you can see also downward, everything goes that way to all the parallel things. And even the guys are kind of blocked out that way. Why would it be above his head? This is kind of conceptual because he's the center of the Last Supper. There's a cross foreshadowing, and he wants to draw attention to him as the central figure in this scene on the Last Supper. So it's using it in a way to try to give you a focal point, a design element to it. And this is just kind of explaining how you could use it conceptually in a piece that you wanted to create. So there you go. This works for circles and other shapes because I've talked to you guys about how you could create something by putting it inside of a box. This is straight on. Or if it was 3D, like a cube. Well, it works for the circles too, because you can put them inside of a box in perspective and then create what's called an ellipse. So an ellipse is a circle turning in space. And if it can have a box around it, it can be in perspective. So it's very useful for drawing all sorts of things. You're going to want to open up the PDF in this module called Drawing 1-Point Perspective Cubes and recreate the drawing following the steps. You're not going to do 10 drawings, you're going to do one drawing that looks like this with all the steps. So your first step is to draw a horizon line. You're going to want to use your ruler for this so you get nice accurate lines. So you draw a horizon line, then in the middle of it, on a piece of paper, you draw your vanishing point. You want to keep it darkly marked. I have it here as a dot, but you're actually better off to use an X, a little X to do it with, and put it on there because there's an exact middle to it, whereas a dot can get a little nebulous as to where the center is. So use an X instead of that. And then you're going to want to establish the cube. So having a cube, this is just showing you where the middle cube is. This little line shows you that it's the same height and width to be a square. So you draw the square. And then you establish what's called the ground plane. So this is the part like the railroad track going back to the dot. And then you cut off the back. It's kind of arbitrary a little bit here to be the end of the cube. And then you're going to use the front, draw the front too. You're going to use all these lines going in it to give you the sides of the box. This darkened part is to show you that that won't be able to be seen. All these lines will be erased because it'll be the back of the box. That's the back part of it. And then this one is to show you do the same process from cubes from different directions and angles on the horizon. You can do some above and below. If they're above the horizon or line or eye level, you'll see the bottom of the box. If they're way below, you'll see the top of the box. When it's on it, you notice you see inside or the front face of the box and part of the side. This is for 1-point perspective. We're going to look at some later assignments that are 2-point perspective, but before that, we're going to do this, and then you're going to be able to create a word of your choice in 1-point perspective. There's books and books of this stuff, but this is just to get you started. When you do the word of your choice, we'll talk more about this, you do all the typography and get it all set, the face plane of it first, before you do any of this. And this is an example of a student's work, what you're going to be doing, creating a sense of depth. So you pick your word, get the typography set up, then you draw the horizon line, the X, and then all the points on it. You'll notice with the G it kind of gets complicated because you have to do kind of various points on it to get the circle. And you'll notice on the back, the goal is to copy the front-facing type with at the back. That's how you get it to look the same. On this person's, you can see that what they had a problem here. They went like that. It looks nice. But this one went further out. It doesn't quite copy. And so it kind of looks a little wonky. It's a little easier with more geometric types. You might want to think about that when you're doing it. But it looks maybe a little less interesting. And all the spots are going to go back to it throughout it. Inside, all the little curvatures. So get started with the cubes first before you do any of that. And post a picture of it to me on the discussion board before you do the words, okay? And I'll talk more about the words with you guys. Okay, I hope you're staying safe out there and keeping your hands washed. Okay, take care, guys.